And so let's turn our attention to the process of creativity and particularly how that plays a role in writing in general. One of the most overlooked readings in literature is Walt Whitman's preface to the 1855 edition of Leaves of Grass. And this preface, I will just add before getting on with it, is particularly instructive because within it, Whitman himself gives us the clues we need to read his poem. This sort of blueprint of re-examining all you have been told at school or church or in any book is really an invitation to not accept blindly what we've been told. Whitman, in section 24 of Leaves of Grass, offers many more profound statements, and Whitman really attempts to capture this with his definition of the cosmos. Welcome back, everyone. I am Delano Copprue, and I'm very happy to be with you today. Last time we were together, we looked at the work of Walt Whitman. On this particular occasion, shall be accompanied by Soren Kierkegaard, the famed philosopher who gazed into the foundry of creation and arrived at humanity's most profound discovery, silence. I'll just quickly shift here to Whitman's definition of the cosmos. This was Whitman's unique idea that the American bards, and let's keep in mind, Whitman begins writing poetry around 1830s, 1840s. The U.S. did not have a poet yet. We were imitating Europe or the courtly muses of Europe. And so Whitman decided that whatever type of poet would come out of the American context would have to be one who would reflect the nation at its best. And yes, one may readily admit to the differences of ideas and beliefs in the 19th century as it involved the body politic. But Whitman himself, in Leaves of Grass, he's very aspirational. And so for many people, Whitman is laying down a blueprint for what an American poet could be. And essentially, an American poet is a poet who is cosmopolitan in nature. While Whitman lays claim to this very patriotic and nationalistic idea of the American bard, as he says, throughout the world and across many nations, many poets have found inspiration in Whitman. But back to Whitman's definition of cosmos. The American bards shall be marked for generosity and affection and for encouraging competitors. They shall be cosmos without monopoly or secrecy, glad to pass anything to anyone, hungry for equal night and day. They shall not be careful of riches and privilege. They shall be riches and privilege. They shall perceive who the most affluent man is. The most affluent man is he that confronts all the shows he sees by equivalence out of the stronger wealth of himself. The American bard shall describe no class of person, nor one or two out of the strata of interest, nor love most, nor truth most, nor the soul most, nor the body most, and not be for the eastern states more than the western, or the northern states more than the southern. This definition is both cosmic and mystical, providing the path forward for the visionary artist. So Whitman offers us a very intense view of the self. Creating the self, owning the self, is about a type of authenticity. And this particular idea of the integrity of one's identity receives further amplification in the work of Soren Kierkegaard, particularly in his 1843 work, which in the English translation is called Fear and Trembling. Fear and Trembling is based upon an extended meditation that Kierkegaard has on the sacrifice of Isaac, going back to the notion of how could a father sacrifice his son, and the larger notions of what does this mean about belief, about one's role as a parent, one's idea of being human. But the overall question that really resides within Kierkegaard is how do we avoid having our souls become dissolved? The word that comes up in this particular passage is disintegrated, disintegrated. How do we avoid having our souls become disintegrated? And it's a very profound question. And for Kierkegaard, in a nutshell, we lose ourselves and our souls crumble when we fail to act. Kierkegaard gives us this notion of the leap of faith. And the leap of faith is essentially his understanding that for all people, when we make a decision, there's something slightly illogical about that decision. And even though we may not fully understand why we're doing something, we must do it. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Kierkegaard, in this particular passage I'm going to share with you, offers us many, many wonderful ideas to kind of think about in terms of imagining a self and how do we reach that self. The idea that to some degree, we each have a little bit of say in the shape and the course of our lives. And so, to begin, Kierkegaard writes, "For knights have the strength to concentrate the whole of their lives and the meaning of reality in a single wish. If humanity lacks this concentration, this focus, our souls are disintegrated from the start, and then we will never come to make the movement. We will act prudently in life like those capitalists who invest their capital in every kind of security so as to gain on the one what they lose on the other. In short, they are no longer knights. Secondly, knights will have the strength to concentrate the whole of the result of their reflections into one act of consciousness. If they lack this focus, their souls are disintegrated from the start, and they will never have time to make the movement. They will be forever running errands in life, never entering the eternal. For the very moment they are almost there, they will suddenly discover what they have forgotten and so must go back. The next moment they will think it possible, and that is also quite correct. But through such considerations, they never come to make the movement. Rather, with their help, one sinks ever deeper into the mire." So, at the very close here, help is a very ironic use of this word. If we stick with people who can't make a decision, we will sink into the mire. And I think a very everyday example of this is when we get ready to leave home. You know, where's my phone? Where's my keys? It's a kettle still on. These are the moments in which we attempt to make that leap to move to another aspect of life, but we're looking back because maybe we forgot something or something isn't always clear. In a nutshell, Kierkegaard is telling us to get on with it. Life is to be lived, essentially, not controlled. So live it. And so, in many ways, this is this existentialist idea that existence itself precedes essence, meaning that the form of our lives aren't entirely predetermined. We have actions that play a role in shaping the overall life that we live. And the weight that Kierkegaard puts upon the idea of making a movement. And it all comes down to concentration and focus. These are very strong, powerful words that really resonate in any creative endeavor. And the very act of living itself requires this intense focus. And he mentions it twice here in this passage. If humanity lacks this concentration, this focus, our souls are disintegrated from the start. So that's for humanity. And then when he talks about the night, in this particular translation, the sentence structure is the same. If they lack this focus, their souls are disintegrated from the start, and they will never have time to make the movement. This passage here truly resonates with me in terms of living a completed life. In terms of living one might say a good life. No one wants to run errands forever. The idea is to arrive at a place of calm, like entering the eternal. Emily Dickinson famously said that the eternal and eternity is a very long Wednesday afternoon. So I think Emily Dickinson's having a bit of fun there, but if we think about how a week is kind of structured, if we have nothing to do in the middle of the week, the Wednesday afternoons, it's kind of that notion too that comes up in the work of Mary Oliver in terms of being both idle and blessed. How to kind of find that kind of calm within, that no matter what you're undertaking, there's a sense of calmness about it because there's an integrity about it. Your soul is not disintegrated. You're living a life of passion and purpose, and you've found that equilibrium that keeps us from human doing and instead focusing upon human being, which is one of the larger goals that I think that we're all working towards. Both the poet and the philosopher, Whitman and Kierkegaard, offer us an intense view of the self. Whitman's version is a celebration, Kierkegaard's is an examination, and both land upon the notion of integrity, of being whole. The self in both is ahistorical, outside of history, residing within the realm of the spiritual and of the imaginative. But what of the historical self? And how might poetry help us build wings to soar above the traumas of the past?